to Real People, Real Life.
Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Appreciate, yeah. Thanks for the invite.
Drones.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about them on the news lately, all these interesting drone encounters. You have a company called Hollywood Drones. They're not toys anymore. I remember, and it has the industry, well, from my perspective, seems like it has just grown exponentially from some toys you'd get over at the toy store 15 years ago to some of these things I see on YouTube, insane competitions. And you have an event coming up that is going to showcase some of the best drone flyers in the world.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up, though, about the drones all over the place. I would like to start with the drones over New Jersey and the lights. So here, I think I can break it down into its simplest format. If you're doing something sneaky or stealthy, and you do not want your drone to be seen because you're doing something sneaky, stealthy, or against the law, then you certainly do not turn on the lights on the drones. So when everybody asked me about it, I said, if I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do, illegal, nefarious, something like that, I certainly wouldn't turn on the lights. So now we know that they were actually there for the FAA, and they were there for the government, and they were there doing all these things that they were supposed to do in private person. But I thought it was kind of funny when everybody saw lights in the sky, and I said, yeah, if you didn't want your drone to be seen, the lights wouldn't be on, and you couldn't
there's
see
sensors.
it.
I mean, if they were high end, there's sensors that they can operate without
the lights.
Yeah.
They don't
And
need
the
lights.
ones, the couple of the pictures I saw typical navigation lights, red and green, and for people that aren't pilots, they help you identify in the sky which direction the plane is flying or the drone is flying. I loved all the theories. Though.
Yeah, you just turn them off, and then it's dark, and then you can't see.
And if
them.
anyone has any questions, definitely reach out to Skip. He knows what is going on in the drone world.
It's dark, yeah.
So let's talk about this event because we're going to be there. The podcast will be there. We're going to be interviewing some of the best drone pilots on the planet.
Yeah. So the idea for the event, I think my first drone event was in 2013, and it was called the LA Drone Expo. And it was, people didn't even know about drones then. There was the DJIs and all that. And there was actually protesters there because they thought it was a military drone convention. So there was coffins out in front, and people were laying down dead because they thought it was like a Predator drone expo, when it was really just about, they were toys then, and they were just a bunch of toy drones. That was my first one. I started getting more involved with them and speaking with them probably about 2015 at Interdrone in Vegas. It was the first major drone show. What was different about it was it had a lot of, the industry was new. So like the Wild West. You had the FPV guys, you had the cinema guys, you had all these different categories of drones, home builds, everybody's starting out. So it was really exciting. It had a level of entertainment. It wasn't corporate. It wasn't commercial. It was a lot of fun. So over the ensuing years, it started developing more of a corporate feel to it. It started developing more commercial feel to it. And the last few, and then they stopped inviting me to talk. They used to have me talk all the time, right? I mean, I used to talk about cinema, I used to talk about education, and it was like, well, Skip, we're really business to business, and we have these agriculture drones, and there's drones that, clean buildings. I said, okay, fine, whatever. So I do the trade shows because I like them, and it's a good way to network with people and some of my friends, but I wanted to do my own. I wanted to do one that brought back the excitement of FPV drone racing. I wanted the excitement of cinema, filming for drones and the fun of it, and not make it so business to business, but more business to consumer. We have a strong education platform for grade schoolers and high schoolers and middle schoolers. It's called FIDA USA. It's the drone soccer, which is relatively brand new, 3 years. People can compete with these drones in a cage, completely safe. And it's a good way for them to learn the hand-eye coordination that's needed to fly a drone prior to actually using the monitors and stuff like that. So I wanted to get that. I wanted to show our drone stunt program where we teach pilots how to fly drones in movies and television shows. And I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk at my show. Since they wouldn't let me, I figured they won't let me talk anymore at their shows. I'm going to create a show where I can talk. And,
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the concept. So from there, it's grown and grown and grown. I mean, so FIDA USA, FIDA International is the organization that sanctions drone soccer around the world. And people laugh at it when I say drone soccer, but almost 1 billion people in the Pacific Rim watch the World Finals that took place in Korea last year.
A million?
A billion.
A billion.
A billion
people.
with a B.
Drone soccer.
Yeah.
Can you explain just briefly exactly what that looks like?
It's like Harry Potter cribbage. So
Okay.
what you got is you have a cage. Sort of, I call it the bounce house. It's a blow up cage. It's about, I think it's 10 feet by 15 feet high by 20 feet long. And there's 2 goals in there, and there's 5 players. So the idea is for a scorer to fly to the other side of the cage and through the scoreboard, through the scoring ring, and then score a point. And then it's up to the other pilots on the opposing team to block that drone.
So they're actually physically, drones
they're
are
hitting each
physically
other.
hitting each other.
Yeah, the drones are in cages, so they're surrounded by a cage, so they don't break or they don't hurt anybody. There's 2 sizes. It's called a 20, which is 20 centimeter, and a 40. So the 20 ones are very easy to fly. They're good for grade school. We've been teaching them how to fly from 1st grade to 6th grade and up. Palm Springs the Palm Springs School District has them in all their schools, starting at the 1st grade level, always up to the high school level. So it's great for hand-eye coordination. You can fly these drones inside, and the kids are really interested in them because it's competition. It's sort of like taking the fun of a computer game, right, and then making it real world. So they're really competing. Then there's the 40 class. The 40 class is more of a professional class, usually for older people, as in high school seniors, college students, and in international teams. Those go 100 miles an hour. The cage is twice the size that they fly in, and the games last 3 minutes, and they are incredibly fast. Somebody can, from 0 to flying across and score in less than a second. They're so quick. And it's the same concept, 5 guys in each team. You have your blockers, you have your scorers, and the whole tournament takes about 9 minutes to do a tournament, and then you're on to the next one.
Wow.
So the original qualifiers were being held in Korea because that's the company that created it, manufactured it, and built it, and then created a sport around their product. So here's the product. It's like, okay, we got a skateboard. Now what do we do with it? Well, we go out and create the Warped Tour so people can compete with it. So, we got this great product. Now what do we do with it? Well, let's create a sport. So they created a sport. They created the sanctioning. They created the rules. They created everything. The World Finals have been being held in Korea, and 36 nations or 40 nations, 10 people per team. I mean, it's that big. So Tim Ingram, who's the head of became the head of FIDA USA about 3 years ago. He was at one of the trade shows, saw it. Actually, I brought him over to the booth and said, look at these things. They're really cool. He and I had been involved in drone education for about 3 or 4 years prior, but we really couldn't come up with a product that we can put in the hands of grade schoolers. We DJI drones and flying them in a gym. And, there's a certain level of like safety skills you needed that you didn't need to fly a drone in a cage. So he saw them, really liked it, licensed the whole sanctioning body for North America. So any FIDA USA drone soccer tournament, if it's sanctioned and if it's flight by the rules, has to go with him. Now there's regions and chapters now growing all over the country. And so he wanted to hold the World Final qualifiers in the United States. So it would be the first time out of Korea for then people going to the World Finals in September. So that was going on in November. And he's like, hey, I got this big event I'm putting on. You want to just like have a drone show? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's have a drone show. So it went from drone soccer only to FPV racing and FPV filmmaking to stunt and stun filmmaking to we got guys now that are coming with drones that wash solar panels, wash windows, do search and rescue. It's all demo. It's all hands-on. And the companies that aren't involved in the sports end of it, like the drone soccer and the racing, or the cinema end of it, which is what I'm doing with filming and production and stuff like that. They're coming to demo their other stuff that people, for education. So it's entertainment, education, sports, all relating to drones. And the big thing for my background is, God, I seem like I'm all over the place. My background is television and film.
Right.
So I've been in TV and film for 25 years. My first jobs were at Fox Television, Fox Sports. I've done work for Universal Pictures. I've done work for Paramount. I've done work for Google and HBO. So all of them. In some cases, it was TV shows. In some cases, production where I was providing content to them or producing for them. Most of my background's in second unit, stunt work, So we're always trying to come up with cooler ways to do stunts. And that's kind of how I got involved with the drones. I saw the drone. I figured it'd be a good thing to do, good thing to do with the stunts. So what I want to do was I wanted to create, which the other expos don't have. I wanted to create a entertainment cinematic experience for opening night. So we're going to have 1,000 drone light show over. We're going to be in a football stadium, 1,000 drone light show. Esther Anaya, who's a international recording artist, electronic violinist, a couple million followers online. She's going to be performing live on stage along with the drones. We're going to have the orbs, which are the 40-centimeter soccer drones, all tricked out in neon. They'll be flying around the football stadium about 100 miles an hour. Drones in the air, violinists. We teach a lightsaber stunt class as part of our cinematography drone class. So we'll have actual Jedi Knights that are from the movies that teach. So these are professional stunt people. So it's going to be Star Wars themes because that's one of our bigger programs. So Star Wars music, orbs flying through the sky that look like they came off of the Millennium Falcon, a violinist on the stage, laser lights, drones. So it's going to be like 1 hour of just insane drone type of light show. Fortunately, hopefully that nobody's ever seen before. And we're going to live stream it on NBC. So NBC takes the feed.
Fantastic.
They're going to take the feed. We have our own page, goes around the world. So they're a big partner with us. I've been working with NBC for probably 8 years with drones. So they're on board, local affiliates on board. We'll have the mayors from Palm Springs, and we'll have the district supervisor. I mean, we got everybody. Everybody's coming.
When is this event, and how can people attend?
Good question. It's March 21st is the opening night event. That's Friday night. And it's also, it actually starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, although the show doesn't start till about 6:30, ends at 9 o'clock. It's all day Saturday, like 8 to 5. There'll be all the competitions. We'll have FPV drone racing. We'll have the drone soccer eliminations, bracket eliminations, and we'll have all the demos that have to do with all the breakout sessions. We'll have a lightsaber camp. We'll have the drone FPV motocross camp. We'll have all these different camps that people can jump into.
And is it a free event, or is it tickets required?
Yes and no, and yes and no.
Okay.
So the website is psdronefest.com. PS stands for Palm Springs. It's in Palm Springs. So yes, it's in Palm Springs. It takes place at Palm Springs High School, downtown Palm Springs.
March 21st.
March 21st.
And it's PS Drones.
No, PS Drone, one word, Fest.
psdronefest.com.
Yeah. All the information is there. There's discount codes for hotels. We're going to have after parties. It does cost money. I think it's $75 for the weekend, the whole weekend, because there is a Sunday. But you can get individual days, or you can get discounts. So you can come, if you just want to come to the opening night ceremony, you can do that. If you want to come to the 3 days, you can do that. Competitors, if you want to start a drone soccer team, you can come. You can pay your registration. People come in for free. A lot of the vendors and the speakers, there's discount codes everywhere if you look for them.
Okay.
If not, you go to Eventbrite, you pay the $75, and you still enjoy the whole show.
And what better place, Palm Springs, on the first day of spring. Make a fantastic weekend out of it. Discounts at hotels. Guys got to go. psdronefest.com.
Yeah, food trucks. We're going to have all kinds of food trucks. I mean, there's going to be food trucks out front. It's going to be, I don't want to say a carnival atmosphere because, there's an opportunity if you are a drone person. We're going to have companies there that hire drone pilots. So if you're a drone pilot, there's going to be several companies there that are going to be displaying products and demoing that hire drone pilots. There's going to be other educators there. There's breakout seminars. We have some big name speakers, which I have written down somewhere that I can tell you. I'll tell you about a little bit later. So
sure.
Look them back up. So we have big name speakers that are huge in the drone industry. But I don't want people to feel that they have to know about the drone industry or be part of it to not go. It's for people that want to find out about it and don't know about it. It's an opportunity for them to go and figure out, what they want to do or if they want to be involved in this program.
And as we mentioned earlier, the exponential growth of this, from toys to industry, monetization, careers, as you mentioned just a second ago, commercial drone pilots, people getting paid to do this. Now, I'm a private pilot, And I was introduced to these guys coming in and taking FAA tests. Paul Knabe, who was on the podcast earlier, he knows about airspace. He knows pretty much everything besides actually flying an airplane, all of the rules that pilots need to understand. Difficult tests, difficult information. San Diego County being Southern California being one of the most difficult places to fly in as it is, and to have certified licensed drone pilots for the safety of everyone. I think it's fantastic that the FAA has gotten involved in this. Not a big fan of overregulation, but in this particular situation, it could be very dangerous to pilots on flying airplanes with drones in the sky. So
we before there was the FAA license, there was something called the 333, and it was to fly a drone, and it was pretty much a legal document. Basically like an affidavit that you had to say, look, I'll follow these rules, I'll learn these rules, but whatever. It was so complicated that you'd have to get an FAA lawyer to do it. It cost me $1,000 because I started flying in 2013. This legislation came along in 2015. It cost me $1,000 to hire an FAA lawyer to fill out the paperwork to send to the FAA. About 2 or 3, they were talking about licensing, and about 2 or 3 years later, I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, they came out with the 107. And so when I took the test, I was in the first batch that took the test. There were no drone questions. It was all pilot questions. It was all from Part 61. So I studied. There was no drone courses to go to online. There was Sporty's Pilot. So I went to Sporty's Pilot. I went to a couple other ones online. I studied those study guides for private pilot, and then I took my 107 test. And in the drone industry, to get a job, they're not really interested in what you score on a test. As long as you scored a 70, which is the bottom line to get the license, they really want to know how many flight hours you have, legitimate ones. But I got 100 because they said it's not important. Only if you score 100, then it's important. Then what they still had when I was taking my lessons, and remember I was teaching though, so I needed a score. I just started teaching, so I needed to score 100. So then 2 years later, we had to do a recurrent where we actually had to go back to the FAA testing center and take the test. It wasn't online. And then I scored another 100, which is good because again, I'm teaching it, right? But since then, and that's going back about 4 years now or 6, the recurrent test is online. So once you get your original test with the FAA, it's 60 questions. You need to score 70. That means you can miss 17 questions. Then when you do it again, you can take it online. The online test isn't easy because it doesn't let you go on to the next page of the test until you pass the quiz questions underneath it. Now, you certainly could have a book open or a computer open to help you, but the FAA just wants to keep reminding you of what to do because a lot of, even though the questions have become drone-centric, there's still a lot of FAA questions. I mean, you still need to know all the airspace, and you still need to know about you still have to know how to read a sectional chart. You still have to know weight and balance and all the stuff airplane guys, but there's less of that as there's now more drone specific questions. At Grossmont, well, I teach at 3 different colleges, LA Tech, LA City College, and Grossmont.
And these are all drone education programs.
Drone education, yeah.
Are there degrees involved or just certification programs?
Just certification programs. They're all non-credit. Initially, I started off at Grossmont College with a grant program. And we maybe had 10 students. And that might have been where Paul started with the grant program. I don't think he started with the actual college, what they call a catalog course. So I was at Grossmont for about 3 years, 4 years. Became a very successful program. So I had my own curriculum, right? My own curriculum for teaching the 107 and then for flying. But I was taught that by a bunch of military guys in Phoenix at the Unmanned Vehicle University, which was I don't want to say paramilitary, but we're training industrial companies how to fly big drones. So they were well aware of who I was from the trade shows. And since they were all military guys and they were getting more and more civilians to take the course, they wanted somebody that had a civilian attitude in training as opposed to some staff sergeant yelling at people, fly your drones, and getting in their face. And so they were having a problem with their communication. So they figured they'd bring in a guy that was a little more casual, obviously, to teach that. But I had to go through their certificate program. their training program. It's like a 1-year program. It's $15,000 I didn't have to pay. And I got certified in everything, like everything. Residential inspection, building inspection, power line inspection, solar inspection. I flew $50,000 Intel drones. I mean, I had to learn how to fly everything to pass their course to be certified by them to teach. But I still broke it down into basically, you need to learn how to fly forwards and backwards with the right stick and left and right. And you had to go up and down with the left stick. You need to be able to fly a drone by looking at it before you can look at the monitor. And that's the course that we took. The 107, I just taught it the way I learned it. Focus heavily on rules, regulations, and laws and memorizing the stuff you can memorize. And then just sort of an overview and a study guide of things that aren't really for memorizing, right? It's easy to know that, the law says you can fly to 400 feet. But now, here's a sectional chart, or I got to figure out weather, or read the weather, codes. They're a little harder because you have to learn something. So I'm memorizing to learn. At Grossmont College, so then 3 years ago, we became what's called a catalog course. So we're in the catalog. We're not part of a grant. I had to write the curriculum itself for approval by the Board of Regents in the colleges of San Diego. The college, Dean Javier, Dr. Javier, provided somebody that actually writes in college speak.
Sure.
The big words. So I wrote the curriculum. I wrote the curriculum the way it needed to be. People that write with big words. This is before AI. I could have done an AI. So the people that wrote with big words wrote it out in big words. And then about 6 months later, it was approved by the state.
Wow.
So state course. One of the first, potentially. There's others, but I think we were first. So then the class in the catalog started growing. So initially when Paul was taking it, maybe have 10 people, 15 people. We have 50 people.
Wow.
We have, Paul became an instructor. He was a student that became an instructor. Outstanding pilot, good friend, contributed a lot to the training program. But he's just too busy in the real world to be a professor anymore.
Too busy in the real world, yeah.
Roseanne Denton was a student, also became an instructor. So the dean came to me and wanted me to hire my team. So technically, I'm the director of the program. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that I have to answer all the emails. I have to talk to all administrators. I have to do all the BS work. But I still get to fly, fortunately, out in the field and teach. And I teach the 107 class all by myself on a Zoom. So Roseanne Denton, she was Women and Drones of the Year pilot. She's one of the instructors. She's worked with me on a bunch of film projects. So we've done Jordan Sparks concert. We've done NBC parades. We've done all that stuff. Outstanding pilot. Great teacher. We have Ramon, who's also a student, who's become he's a very good pilot. Technically speaking, technology-wise, the guy's a wizard with a computer and the technology and all the electronics. So each of the instructors brings something to the table. All of them are great with our students, and the course has been extremely successful. We have a cinema course and a basic. We have an advanced course and a basic course. In what they call these 8-week semesters. And then, so we have what amounts to 3 classes each semester that each can have 25 people. And since we started 3 years ago, we've been full. Our next class starts in April. It's almost always full. I'll be full in September. Used to have to look for students. We don't have to do that anymore.
Well, it's become an industry.
Well, that's the next part.
So that's what's great. It's another course of life career choices that people can make. And speaking of Hollywood, which is a portion of what this is, it's transformed cinematography, sports. I mean, some of the drone shots on these golf for the PGA are unbelievable when they fly through the courses. Eliminating helicopter shots.
Oh yeah,
and getting real close-up shots of things that you couldn't do with a helicopter, or you're zooming in. Cost savings, unbelievable. But then we're now in the industry of home washing panels, safety. Right there, guys aren't climbing up on roofs with water and slipping and falling. Power lines. They used to do that with helicopters. Again, safety. I mean, so just the safety that these drones have provided to industry is pretty amazing. And people that go into it, it isn't just a toy thing anymore. What can the student expect that has no drone experience and signs up with your level 1 course?
That's a good question. So we prefer that they don't have any experience at all because most people that have learned how to fly have learned how to fly by watching some yo-yo on a YouTube video, more than likely crashed into his face, right? So we prefer that they don't know anything, and we teach them from scratch. We have most of our students do not know how to fly at all, and by the end of the basic class, they are all experts pretty much when it comes to flying and all the safety. So they're not ready to go out and do movies. They're not ready to go out and get a job yet, but they certainly are quite comfortable with buying their own drone at that point. We provide the drones first.
So the school does provide the equipment. Yeah. That's good.
And so after that, they go out and buy their drone. And I don't think we've had we've had a few people that have tried to do more extreme things and have crashed. But the idea is they can buy a drone and set it up at home and know how to fly safely. And if they wanted to, they could start their own little drone business, maybe in real estate or something like that, or shooting weddings, or they could come to our next class, which is advanced. That's we call it advanced cinematography, but basically there's branches out to that go into different industries. But it's really an advanced course, so they learn the basics of how to fly. They understand the controls. They can be comfortable and not nervous when they're flying. They come to the next course, which is the advanced course, and kind of like the basic course, we teach them how to fly the drone by looking at it. It's called 3D spatial orientation.
Okay.
It's the idea of knowing where something is in 3D space. We have a drill where we have them take off and fly the drone 25 feet out and stop when you think it's 25 feet. So some people put it 50 feet, 100 feet. They don't know where 25 feet is in the air. They don't know where 25 feet is straight up. So by the time they get done with that first class, they have a good idea of where the drone is in space, how far away is it, what does it look like when it's flying. We have them fly these squares when they're precise. They have to fly the squares, stay over the lines that are painted on the ground, stop when they're over the corner of each square, within a 3-foot diameter. So it's pretty precision. It's a lot of precision flying. So by looking at the drone, then when we take them to the advanced class, they don't get to look at the drone anymore. Now they have to look at the monitor. They have to learn how to fly with a monitor because all your inspection is done by looking at the monitor and taking pictures. All of your cinematography, obviously, is done by looking at the monitor. But the mental concept is, if you understand 3D orientation, if you know how to move a drone forward, backward, left, and right, when you're flying it and you're looking at the monitor, kind of like in the back of your mind, you know where the drone is, right? Okay, well, I'm over here. I'm looking over here. I see where I'm probably over on this side, or I'm 25 feet that side. So you put that all together. And then after that, we break them into, there's 18 verticals. So there's, like you mentioned, there's about 18 professional careers that rely on drones now. We provide them with probably 4 or 5. So once you're in our class, it's very important to really learn how to use it. Even if you're not going to be in cinema or photography, you need to learn how to use the camera, because all the jobs you're going to use the camera.
Right, and that's how the people are going to enjoy the content.
Yes. When you do power line inspections, you're taking pictures of power lines and power line couplers. When you're doing solar panel inspections, you're taking pictures of solar panels. Not LiDAR. You don't need LiDAR to see a damaged solar panel. You don't need LiDAR to, a camera that sees in the dark or blues and reds to look at a broken power coupling. So you're using the regular camera, and you need to get close to the power line. You need to get close to the windmills to look for cracks and breaks. So you need to have the confidence to fly. You need to know how to use a camera. You need to know the rules of third and the framing and focus so that people at the data center can read those. So what was happening was a lot of companies, Soaring Eagle being one that does windmill inspection, C2, which hires the power line inspections for Edison and PG&E. We have a company that does solar panel inspections. They were hiring pilots at different schools that knew how to fly and knew about the technology and knew about the AI and the automated stuff. They didn't know how to fly the drone or use the camera. They didn't know how to go out in the real world and learn how to use a camera. So now we have these companies coming to us. They're coming to Grossmont. They're coming to me. Soaring Eagle hired 15 of our students for jobs that pay $75,000 to $80,000 right out of the gate, right as soon as they graduated,
Wow.
to do windmill inspections. C2, Edison, PG&E has taken 10 of our students. They're making $90,000 a year right out of the gate, right out of our class, 1 year basically spent taking our class, $90,000 a year. They want more. I cannot provide them with enough pilots. Soaring Eagle has just started a building washing, window washing company where they have these giant drones that fly up and down buildings with power pressure hoses. They need 100 pilots from me. They're coming to me from pilots. These organizations will be at this expo. They're our partners. What we did was they took us on training missions with them. They have their own training. And so what we did was we took what they actually do in the field and created a training program on that.
Standardized.
That we teach at the college. So they go through our advanced and they say, hey, who wants to learn how to do power line inspections? And maybe you'll have a group of 5 there. Who wants to stay with me in the movie stuff? A group of 5 over there. And then we work with NBC. So we work with NBC, and students that take the cinema program can intern at NBC, both in Palm Springs and in San Diego. So because me, Roseanne, Paul at one time, were instructors that work in the drone industry, like really work. I mean, look at me now. I just came from teaching. I'm going to another job. I mean, I've been out in the field all day. And because of that real world experience that we continue to have, we're able to translate that to a program and then teach it immediately. We literally can pivot on a dime. I could go out today and shoot a special thing for a client. And we're working with a company that does robotic dogs on security. So what this company is going to do is they're going to have robotic dogs that are going to be part of a security detail at those closed-in rich communities, where rich people live behind the walls, kind of like they've created their own prison. I love to say that. Hey, I live in this gated community. Oh, so you live in your own prison? Okay, whatever. But the idea is they have security gates, security guards. So the dogs will patrol on the ground, and they'll be married with drones in the air. And the drone operator is going to make $100 an hour. He's going to make $90 an hour to provide security. They'll be at the trade show demoing their dog. It's also for industrial. It's also for communities. But the idea is dog on the ground, drone in the air, and they work together. So we're working on their training platform. So it's kind of like I get to play with everybody's new toys. And it's just all of them. It's a blast.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing, fun toy. People have always been interested in remote control. And the entry level pay is unbelievable, and it's growing.
Yeah.
You're kind of like the drone father, the drone father of the new industry.
Oh my God! You know what's great is Dawn, who's my production manager and our office administrator. She buys me all these drone-related shirts. I have one that says the Quad Father.
Because you're a
Quad Father, yeah.
Sure.
So that's pretty good. It's too bad if I would have known you were going to use that. I would have worn the Quad Father.
I just
shirt.
thought of it. I'm thinking,
idea.
we're talking toys, 12 years ago, literally.
Mm-hmm.
To major industry with significant pay, college courses cataloged, approved by the state. This is a career path that I never even thought about. I guarantee you a lot of people don't know about, and it's fun.
Well, yes. This is a fun, it's not, they're not toys anymore, but when you're flying them, they feel like a toy. It's so much fun to fly them. The FPV, where you wear the goggles and fly around. I mean, I started taking flying lessons just before the pandemic, and the school I was taking lessons at Thermal Airport, they closed during the pandemic because you're in a 152, which is the tiny Cessna, as you know, and you're like right next to the instructor, so that ended fast.
Like literally.
I got 4 hours of actually single engine flight time. I do intend to go back because I know I'll pass a ground school without a problem. So the funny part about it was we've been doing all of these. They were the toys and they were fun. Everything was fun. It's still fun when I go out and do I do inspection jobs. I do real estate jobs. I still do those. I've decided not to go in industry or corporate. I've been there in all my television and film experience. I don't want to work for Fox anymore. I don't want to do anything corporate anymore. I just don't. I don't mind doing stuff, individual gigs for the studios. I do a music video. We're going to do Esther's music video. Do a lot of television
More
commercials.
independent contracting.
Yeah, independent. Just, got my own little film business. You need cinema hire me. I used to do a full package. I would do a commercial where I had the cameras on the ground on tripods like you do. And so I'd be involved in directing it and filming it. And then I get the drone shots as part of a team. I don't even do that anymore. I'm like, get somebody else to put the camera on the ground. I don't want to put a camera on the ground, shoulder. I just want to fly the shots. I did this great commercial for the Givenchy store. The biggest spot I think I've ever done, downtown Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. The ladies are going to kill me. The Givenchy store, one of those high-end stores on Rodeo Drive.
With a difficult name to pronounce.
Yeah, they're all like,
of
like
course,
Chanel or whatever. So anyway, the nice store. So they shut down Rodeo Drive. We had police there. Interestingly, the Beverly Hills have their own drone air force.
Really?
It patrols downtown. It patrols the shopping district from, I think they said, 10 in the morning till 8 at night. 2 drones, 150 feet, just up and down each street looking at everything going on. So we had to coordinate with them. So they were on site. We shut the street down. And I was, that night, they wanted FPV style cinematography, which is different than FPV racing. So I had my permits, I had everything. They had the whole street shut down, and here I am just blasting down Santa Monica Boulevard. I dive down on a Rodeo Drive. I fly along through Rodeo Drive. I come up on the back end of Wilshire, then I loop back in and fly through the store.
Through the store?
Through the store, yeah. And the store has a spire in it, so I fly into the store, up the
Is there
spire,
someplace somebody can see this video?
Yeah, I cut my own version of just the video, so you can, I have it online. So one of my, I think maybe, I don't know. We'll put in a link.
If you can get a link, really cool. That'd be great. I'll definitely link it. Rodeo Drive is Beverly Hills. It's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a freaking $50,000 shoot, It was just one day, one night, 4 hours. My permit was $5,000 with the city just to be able to do that stuff. It was neat, too, because there's a Ferrari in the scene. The Ferrari zips down in front of the store, and I got to come across and slide into the Ferrari. So it's just like, wow, it's a blast. So fun.
Who does your post-production on something like that?
Well, that was their agency did that, but I cut my own stuff. I've been editing on Premiere Pro since it came out, 24 years. I also edit on Final Cut Pro. I like that Wondershare's Filmora is kind of fun for doing stills. So I do all my own editing. I don't, my own project, I still like going out in the desert and just flying, just, ripping in one way or another. So, but it's fun. And everybody that takes the course, it's fun. The idea is, even when you're doing power line inspection, it might be boring to do power line inspections, but it's still fun. And the fact that you're flying a drone, you're out in the wilderness, maybe you're at Mount Shasta, and it's freaking beautiful, and there's a little bit of snow on the ground, and you're flying the drone around and looking at power lines, and you're making $90K a year. That's fun too.
You're providing an amazing service too, especially with the wildfire situations we've got. Be able to get into these areas, get right up close, have a standardized training program. So the data that's coming back, I mean, it is a job, and there is a lot of work. I guarantee you, like anything, it's a lot of work, hard work. You have to get the shot. One and done type thing. You can't spend all this time and come back to the post-production and you didn't get what they needed. So I get it. I get the pay. I get the learning curve. It would make sense. A lot of people don't understand the work behind the scenes to do even something as simple as a podcast.
That's true. Anybody can fly a drone without a doubt. You go to the store, you buy one, you can put it up in your yard. But these type of programs, drones for doing cinema, drones for like the power line inspection, the solar inspection, windmill, those are high risk jobs it's easy to crash into a windmill. It's got its own vortex. The windmill's spinning. They turn them off when you're inspecting them, but windmills are placed in areas where there's wind.
That's correct.
I mean, there's always wind.
Driving the Banning Pass out of Palm Springs, your car gets blown all over.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, windmills are where it's windy. So that's something a drone pilot has to take in consideration. Power lines, they sometimes get 3 or 4 feet. It's easy for the wind or get attacked by an eagle or something like that. And your flight skill levels, it's flying a drone is a learned skill, right? It's learned. Which means if you don't fly every week, if you don't fly every other day, that skill diminishes. And I tell that to my students all the time. We have really great professional cinematography students that their last class at Grossmont was December 13th, and they just started up 3 days ago with this semester. And we had them out there running practice flight patterns. Half of them were off. They have to be precise, and they were off because they didn't fly. And it's easy to lose it. Now, I'm fortunate in my job. I fly 3 days a week at the school, doing demos for the students on how a lesson's flown. And I have a shoot this Saturday. I have a shoot in Calabasas, not Calabasas, down here somewhere. Saturday. It's a 19 building apartment complex. I started out with residential, houses like everybody does. It's easy. It's a low hanging fruit. And now I don't do that anymore because I shoot for developers and or architects. So I don't do basic real estate listings anymore. I teach students how to do that, but now I do like creative stuff where I go in there and shoot it. A lot of it's at sunset potentially or at night. So it's a creative element for the architect or the developer to showcase the property. It's not necessarily a sales property.
I was thinking about your comment where it's a learned skill. You got to practice. The physics, however, and in my mind, I'm picturing a drone designed to wash a building with a pressure washer. You're adding another force. Okay, so now you have literally a water jet pushing this thing back. That is a separate skill altogether. It's okay, you've learned to fly a drone. Now let's put something on there that's going to throw everything you learned to a new level.
What's that? Well, so you're speaking from only a pilot would know every action is a reaction. Mm-hmm. That's something for a pilot or a rocket scientist or anybody that's just, Isaac Newton, for every force, there's an equal and opposite force. You're absolutely right. And we were talking about that to the students and the guy with the company. If you have a drone and it's a high powered water jet pushing this way, that drone's going to want to go that way. And a pilot's going to have to be aware of that and compensate for that. Additionally, there's two types of drones. One has a tank on it, and the other one has a hose that goes to a pressure washer. So the hose it's drag, right? That's another issue you got to worry about.
Yeah.
You can't back into it, you can't turn around it. So you have to worry about the hose, you have to worry about the direction. When it has a tank, it's going to be a much heavier drone, and the water's going to be moving around in it.
And it's going to get lighter as it goes.
Exactly, and the water's still going to move around in it. So there's a lot of skills that you need. I have, according to DJI, now DJI there's a black box in every one of the DJI drones.
That's a drone company, correct?
Yeah, drone company. DJI is a drone company, most popular company in the world. The U.S. government has it out for them because they think they're spying for China, whatever. I sit on the Drone Advocacy Council. So for 6 years, I've been fighting whatever conspiracy theory, rumor, blah, 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 about how the Chinese drones are spying on Americans.
We've heard a lot of those just recently.
Yeah. So it's another one of my big arguments are they're giving away secrets of where our air bases, our military bases are, and our nuclear power plants. And I said, well, I know where Miramar is because when I drive down the 15, there's a big sign that says Miramar. So I don't really think they need drones to find.
There's Google Earth too. You can look at almost anything.
Yeah, there's Google, right? Exactly. There's Google Earth. But I mean, it's like when you drive out to Phoenix, the nuclear power plant, there's a big sign that says nuclear power plant this way. So, and I think the satellites the Chinese have are probably better than the cameras, even on these drones. So there's all that. But that all being beside, so they have black boxes in these drones that store data on the drones.
Is this a requirement by the FAA, or is this something the DJI has done independently?
The FAA requires you to keep a log, like a pilot. It can be digital, and DJI's you can access the flight time and everything in the DJI drone. So you don't.
Does it record altitude, speed,
Yes,
everything? So
everything.
So like on a plane, ADS-B. You pretty much can track any flight now that's requiring ADS-B. So same kind of technology on
I can
these drone flights.
I can pull my logs and actually have a map, and you can see my drone.
You watch the overlay and everything, altitude, speed,
everything. So also your hours, and hours are very important. Most companies, when I first started this, wouldn't hire you unless you had 50 hours of flight time. Now, I know you understand about having flight time hours, but you'd be surprised how many hours people think they have flying a drone and they don't. It's flying the drone. It's like your hours, the drone has to be in the air, has to be flying to flight hours, right? And so it can be anything though. You could be flying around your house, but initial batteries were only 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Somebody go, oh man, I flew 5 batteries today. I must have been out there for 5 hours. Well, no, you were standing outside. You're probably tired. You think it was 5 hours. So DJI every year sends out certificates, and they tell you where your rank is in amount of hours. So I'm at 99.9% of the pilots in the entire world. I have 1,600 flight hours.
Wow.
Which is like, it's
a lot of charging batteries.
Yeah, it's like 90. Yeah, it's because I fly.
People don't understand how hard it is to accumulate flying hours in planes. You know, when the plane is flying, well, technically when the engine turns on. However, there's so much to it. You've got your pre-flight. You've got all the things, on a plane, all your pre-flight, on the drone, all your pre-flight. There's got to be. I mean, these aren't cheap toys anymore.
Right. No. The entry level, though, you can get really good. DJI has advanced their technology so much that you can get an entry level drone. I think like there's something called the Mini 3 Pro. They have the Mini 4 Pro with a monitor, with the actual monitor. You can get in the thing for $600-700. You can get that drone. It's got a professional camera on it. It's got a professional camera on it. It shoots in 4K. It's got all these camera settings, and it's as good as a GoPro camera. And you could go out if you want to and do real estate photography and cinematography. Realtors on average will pay you $150 a house to take pictures of it, and $250 to do videos. But the pictures, there's only 12 photos. There's a real estate listing is 12 photos. What it is it's a picture of the house from each corner and each flat side. That's 8, right? Corner, 8. And then from the front and the back, they're called cardinal. The cardinal photos, like a compass, are the 8 photos, usually at 100 feet to show the surrounding property. The listing photos are usually done about roof level. That's it. You're done. You just made $150. I can shoot a house in 10 minutes. And I try to show students how to do that. Now, the first time you do it, I mean, your corners have to be equal distance. You got to fly around the house. But I got it down now where I'm just boom, 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 and be done. And then your videography is 5 basic shots. It's front, it's left to right, front, it's a flyover, it's the back of the house. So it's these 5 basic shots. And that's real estate. And you could do that all day long, and you could get jobs doing that. There's like Uber for drone companies that will hire you to do real estate, gig jobs. Hey, we need this shot. We need that shot. We need this shot. And so that's how I got started. And I was doing, nobody. See, I was fortunate. When I was doing it, nobody else was doing it. I was doing 10 houses a day. I was doing 10 houses a day in Palm Springs, 10 houses a day in Rancho Cucamonga, where my sister lived. Anywhere there's new construction, the construction company would hire me. It was crazy. So think about it, 10 houses a day, $150 a house, 5 days a week. The time and days that I picked, it was crazy nuts. I made $25,000 off this one company in a couple months just shooting houses.
The ROI on the equipment is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you can spend, I'm sure, like any hobby or any industry, you can spend as much money as you want on drones. I'm sure they can get really, really expensive.
Yeah.
But $600-700 on a drone that can actually do this work, where you can pay for it in one day's worth of work. That's pretty.
Well, the technology's helped. So now you can get that drone for $600. But if you go back 4 years ago, that same technology would have cost you $1,800. So it's just like the technology's gotten better, the price come down. So now I'm flying I have a Mavic 3 Pro, which is a full-blown cinema drone.
That's a DJI?
DJI, 4/3 sensor, 3 lenses, 3 individual sensors for zoom. It's got a 4.3 for the big one. It's a camera it's as good as a Red.
And right? How big is this machine?
It's big. It's not as big as a table, but it's big. And it costs, batteries are $300 a pop. They last for about 45 minutes. So you need at least 6 to go on a job. You have the drone, you need the filter. So the drone's $4,000. So the whole packet I'm into for about $6,000. That similar drone, pretty much going back about 6 years ago, would have cost 10, 12, 15. Yeah. I have one of those too. So
wow,
the prices have gone down. The technology's gotten better. DJI is just about ready to come out. And the reason I keep mentioning DJI is,
and they're not sponsoring this, but they're the number one.
They're pretty much the only one at this point. So at the beginning, There was half a dozen American-made drone manufacturers. GoPro had one called the Karma. There's a company called 3DR. There's a bunch of miscellaneous companies. They're all junk, basically. They were junk. I owned almost every single one of them. They didn't fly. The motors failed. The cameras didn't work. DJI started at the same time they did and were making a better product. There's a company called Autel. Paul has one, swears by it, he loves it. Those are the two main companies right now. There's an American,
and they're made in
China.
In China,
yeah. There's an American company. Their drones crap, and they stopped selling consumers and now just sell in the military. I don't know how safe, how good that is for the military, but whatever. So the only reason
that's for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason I meant, and that's what we teach on. It's the most popular drone. You have 90% of the U.S. market or the worldwide market. They're a camera company. They bought a camera company.
Smart.
So their cameras are outstanding cameras. And they also make cameras. So they understand cinematography, which is my background. And which is unique is we have a lot of students that come to Grossmont because they want to be cinema students. And because I still work with all these different companies doing cinema, I'm able to intern them on all these different sets.
What an amazing way to get into the Hollywood scene, Hollywood, quote unquote,
Well,
just into cinematography, producing video content that is outstanding and making good money doing it and having a lot of fun.
People ask, well, how did I get into it? I didn't, it's a disclaimer. I didn't get into, I didn't get into Hollywood with the drone.
No, you've been doing it.
I was already with it.
We had 25 years.
So I knew Robert Arvella. He's a stunt coordinator director, and I'd shoot for him. And then I'd say, hey, dude, I got this drone thing. Yeah, let's do it. So we did this big thing with one of his movies. And then, I had this, like Esther and I, we're going to do her music video. So I already was doing production with these people, including, Universal and Paramount and the advertising agencies that I've been working with for 25 years. So now I just say, hey, drones. Now I started with Robert Arvella, and he teaches, Keanu Reeves has a stunt school in Hollywood called 8711. So he teaches, and he also does a bunch of movies. And so he was doing a sci-fi movie in the Los Angeles forest, and it was low budget because sci-fi low budget. And that was when I had the first like DJI drone. And I mean like the first one where you had to duct tape a GoPro camera to the bottom. So we did it, and it was a thing where like these zombies were fighting Alien, and he was the stunt coordinator director on it, and this big fight's going on, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. The drone's flying into the camera, and it's almost taking out the stunt people's heads, and everybody's going crazy, and it got cut, and it towards the end, like you'll never work in this town again. It was one of those. I thought, oh my god, I'm never going to work in this. And everybody will have a giant, but they'll never have any drones. But I guess there was a producer or somebody there who says, oh my god, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Well, the technology wasn't there yet, but then it rapidly advanced to where the DJI Phantom 4 came out with a 1-inch sensor. You're a videographer, producer here. Once it came out with the 1-inch sensor, it gave you the depth of field and the resolution you needed to work with ground-based cameras. So at the time the DJI 1-inch sensor came out, the mirrorless cameras with 1-inch sensors, the Sony's Lumax and all that, were very, very popular with independent filmmakers. The two cameras together, and you basically had a big-time video production company for the cost of a mirrorless Sony or Panasonic or Canon, and then the drone, and then the technology. It's so good right now. They have FPV is the big deal.
And FPV is first person,
where you look through the goggles. So initially,
so you actually feel like you're flying. You're in the drone itself.
Yeah, when I first started doing it, I had to sit down because I get vertigo. When stand up, as you're turning, you're like feel like you're gonna fall over because your whole visual, you're 180, 190 degrees of your visual.
Well, and you're also
turning.
You're not getting any of the input, the gravity input. So
No,
how many people get sick or nauseous?
Well, that's why I started flying when I was sitting down because you could feel yourself getting like dizzy, getting vertigo. Now I can do it standing up, but I'm used to it. So those drones initially were manual everything. And the guys that flew them had a really unique flying skill set, but they really weren't that good with cinema. So of course, DJI again comes out with an FPV drone that you can create. You can make it all manual, or you can set it up to fly in like a cinema mode. And the cinema mode allows you to fly FPV style, to go fast, to go low, to go through small spaces with the goggles. So you have that view of like right at the drone. But it's more designed to where your turns are flowing, which is what the agencies or the producers or who's ever doing the film wants. They don't want the jerkiness of. They don't want FPV racing. They want you to be able to, like I did. They want you to be able to fly down the street and transition inside a building, come out, or in the case of car. I've done a lot of car commercials. It's really great to be able to, to come up behind the car nice and smooth and then angle in front of it. I watched to create the style. I watched a lot of these and Top Gun, a lot of these World War II old style movies where they had the cameras mounted in the airplanes, and you could watch a plane bank and keep the horizon on the nose, right, when you're doing a turn. And that's what FPV guys don't understand anything about that. So when you're turning one of these FPV drones for cinema, you really want to make sure, like when you're flying an airplane, you're keeping that nose right on the horizon. So it's a nice even turn. And then I bank in for the shot, kind of like when you take off with your airplane, and I learned this because I got to take off 3 times. You take off for your airplane, then you do the left turn, right, your crosswind turn, and then what I do is I find if I bank into that, and then before I do what would be a downwind, is when I just coming blasting down back on the field. I use it when I'm chasing a car. So cars like this, I'm coming up on a car. I'm already in the air, so I'm not taking off, but the flight pattern's the same. So I'm like this. And then what I do is I start to get a little bit ahead of the car, and I bank that turn. And then what I'm able to do is I'm able to bank it and come around and fly right over them. So it's what you guys in airplanes do all the time when you're doing stop and goes. So I just wanted to do it with a drone and then have a target. So I learned that from flying in a plane. And then I watched some movies when they were dive bombing when they drop an aileron, this airplane talk, whatever camera's on. So when they drop an aileron and they bank in to do a strafe. So that's what I tried to do and create it. And now, like, I don't want to say it's a signature move, but it's a thing that I do that every single client wants me to do that, especially with the cars. Because it needs to be behind the car and then go up in the air, lose it, and then come right back down and just right over the head. So that's because I was getting so much requests for that over the winter, I've added that to the class. So now I'm teaching our FPV students how to do that
move.
So we're able to do that stuff that quickly. And we'll have those breakout sessions and those seminars, hands-on seminars at the drone show, at the Drone Fest. So they're going to be able to fly these FPV drones.
So people will actually be able to get out there and do this.
Fly the FPV drones under instruction. Fly the drone soccer drones under instruction. We want it to be hands-on. We want people to be interactive with all the stuff that we have to offer. For this.
Gotta go to
psdronefest.com.
psdronefest.com.
Yes,
this just sounds like a fantastic weekend.
It's going to be a lot.
March 21st, Palm Springs, first day of spring.
Yep. Oh, the weather, it's going to
be amazing.
55 degrees at night, 75 degrees during the day, clear blue skies. We're downtown, so all the restaurants are there, all the nightclubs are there, all the bars are there. I mean, it's going to have everything for everybody. I mean, for kids, right? We got Star Wars.
Well, you got people starting at first grade. They're going to have everything.
Yeah.
People can fly these things from as early as first grade.
From as early as
first grade. Career.
And that's, I'm from Hollywood. I'm not from Palm Springs. I moved out there during the pandemic to live with my sister, which initially was supposed to be for 3 weeks because I couldn't get any food.
Is sister mad?
Yeah. So you live in the city. I lived at Sunset and Vine, right there in Hollywood. And I worked at the Live Nation building when I was there working for Apple. And I was there for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And so you live in a studio apartment, you pay $3,000 a month, and you go downstairs to eat. There's sushi bar, the burger bar, the other bar. You go downstairs. My refrigerator was like full of Red Bull and and beer for when I don't drink beer, but I had beer from when my friends came over and maybe some ice cream or something. That was it. There was no food. I didn't cook. So then the pandemic comes along. There's a Trader Joe's right across the street at Sunset and Vine. The pandemic comes along and all the restaurants close, right? So I'm like, oh my God, I can't eat. So my sister, I'll go across the street to Trader Joe's. Walk across the street to Trader Joe's, figure get some frozen food. So it was funny. Everybody was like, oh, there's no toilet paper. There was no food. There was no frozen food. There was no meat food. I walked into the store. look, they gave it away. There was no food. I'm like, holy crap. So down the street is a Ralph's, no food. So my sister's like, well, you can come here and stay for a few weeks because it's the beginning of the pandemic. It was when Tom Hanks got it in Australia and everybody freaked out and the Mavericks game closed. It was the end of the world, right? So it's like, oh, well, so 3 or 4 days later, there's no food, no toilet paper, no nothing. Stay with me for 3 weeks. So like, it was like 4 years ago, I guess.
5, coming on 5 now.
So yeah, she's like, you got to get out of the house, man. I just wasn't supposed to be long term. I always thought I was going to move back to the city, and I probably would have if I would have stayed with just general production. But my drone programs, my training, all Grossmont College, the stuff I was doing in Phoenix, the drone part of what I was doing exploded and took over anything else that I was doing in cinematography or the other kind of work. And weird or not, Palm Springs is centrally located. Phoenix, 3.5 hours, Vegas, 3.5 hours, San Diego, 2 hours. I still teach in LA Tech on occasion. That's 2 hours, like right in the middle. And for pilot, most of the Coachella Valley is Gulf airspace, just a small area around the airport, and the whole rest of the valley, 400 feet for a drone pilot, fly anywhere, just do what you want. So it really became beneficial for me because I do a lot of private training in the winter time. Obviously in the summer it's 130 degrees, so whatever, go to the beach. But in the winter times I do a lot of private stuff, and the Coachella Valley is a great place to do that. So for anybody and that's why we're there, and that's why we're holding the drone program there, and then all the exciting things that you can do in the spring. And for anybody that wants to come, if they're not from the area, again on the website, psdronefest.com. Maybe you're like you'll do a graphic thing, right?
I will.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'll put a link as well right on the YouTube channel.
I knew that because when I walked in here, the place looked so badass professional. I knew that. I knew that there'd be links and graphics and stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link that they can tap on, a tag, and take them over to that. We'll put in the notes as well, so it'll be there, and I'll throw out the website as well.
And then you guys are going to be there too, right? I mean,
So that's
important for me. Yes.
Real people, real life. We're going to be here. Paul Knabe is going to do a lot of interviewing for us. He was a guest, very popular guest on the show. We're also going to hopefully interview some of the performing artists, etc., the speakers and the performers. It's just going to be a blast, a lot of fun, and hope everybody that is ever thought about it or hasn't even thought about it, knowing that there's a career involved. As we finish up, I'd like to ask you, you said there's about 18 industries and growing that hire drone pilots. You've worked in quite a few. You've mentioned a handful in the podcast. What's your favorite? If you had to say, this is the only industry that I would want to continue working in.
Well, that's a loaded question because obviously I would say cinema. For me, it's cinema. I like doing cinema a lot, although maybe this is also part of cinema. I do like shooting architecture. I like being hired by Algory. They're based in San Diego. They're developers and architects, and some of they take historical buildings and they remodel them. So what they do is they give me the opportunity to go in there as a pilot, as a creative, and tell a story with the building.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So it is. And what's interesting about it is I did one of their buildings, and I told a story using drones, different kinds of drones, FPV drones and cinema drones, of this particular building, the Trinity building, and I entered it in the iHollywood Film Festival, which is a big film festival, as in the drone category, and it won. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And what was interesting about it was there was a lot of different kinds of drone categories. Like you'd see drone FPV guys, down at the beaches, and drone where there was characters or people or something animated within their storytelling. But the director of the film festival said to me, anybody that can take a building and make it entertaining certainly deserves to win this award. She said, because your building isn't talking, it's not moving, it's not doing anything.
No actors.
No nothing. So it was the dynamic cinematography of what the drones was able to create that. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I like doing that part of it. But there's so that, and that's a good point you brought up. I wanted to, in the Coachella Valley, we have a college of the desert, and the other colleges, and they make a big deal about, they have, they'll probably never hire me now because they've been talking to me about setting up a drone course. But the idea is they have courses there for students in hospitality, and that's great. The Coachella Valley is a big tourist destination. Lots of bars, the casinos, and all that stuff. But you know what? Maybe it would be better if they had a drone program at this college that could teach kids how to do windmill inspection. There's 10,000 windmills there. Teach them how to do solar inspection. There's square miles of solar panels there. Or maybe instead of having them, pick strawberries in the field, fly over the fields and spray them with pesticides and fertilizers. And instead of getting paid for bartending and being a hotel service person and all the others, they could get paid. They could learn a technology that we could teach them like in their first year of a 2-year college or right out of high school and put them to work. So as much as I'm not like a bunny hugger or a feel good person or all that, although maybe I come across that way, I really found it. I've been offered with the success of the Grossmont program, and I've been offered some really, really big jobs lately in the last year. But I, in a weird kind of way, I really enjoy changing people's lives. So you can go back and look at those 40 people that have jobs, and some of them were homeless, veterans, living in their cars, kids with zero future working at McDonald's. And I can go back and say, man, I changed this kid's life and this kid's life and this person's life and that person's life. So in a way, there's that feel good thing. And of course, maybe, based on the universe, me doing all these nice things, I get more nice things.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not trying to be transactional with the universe, but hey, we
talk about fulfillment in life, winning, be inspired to win in life is our little tagline. The idea that always circles back to when you are doing something that provides a service and betters other people's lives, that's fulfillment. That's what living is about. Helping other people go when they have no direction, giving them some direction, giving them a career. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. And you know what the great thing is? This is community college courses, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't, $100,000 in student loan debt with a degree that isn't paying, and we've talked about that on the podcast. This is something where these people are coming out with high-paying jobs. Perhaps maybe they weren't good doing math or history and science, but they can fly these drones and it triggers something in their brain and they just become professionals at it. And then they have a career that they can enjoy their whole lives.
Even Paul. So Paul, he has the job that he has now. And then, what was interesting to see with him as he developed into a pilot, he really developed into a creative, a cinematographer. I mean, we even named a shot. He came up with this idea in one of the buildings. He worked on the building projects. He did a lot of them, where he flew the drone kind of sideways, but in a straight line with the camera off to an angle. And it was this great shot. And we started teaching it. And it's like his signature shot. So here was a guy that was like, I don't say, I didn't realize, I didn't know, and maybe he didn't even know he was creative. But certainly when he started filming and flying, extremely creative. And so it's kind of neat to see people, because you can't teach creative. You can teach the skill. You can teach the basic. You can't teach a person to be creative. You can't.
It has to be in their brain, imagination.
You're born with that. You might not know you have it until you're put into position to use it. But a creative, if I could teach creative, then I probably would be making hundreds of millions of years, because you can't really teach it. I don't know how to teach that.
You got to pull it out of people. Right. They got to find it in themselves.
In themselves, yes.
And anybody who wants to know more about Paul and hasn't watched the podcast with Paul, take a look. It's one of our earlier podcasts. I think it came out in January. But his whole story, it includes his drone story as well. One other question. I know we were going to finish up, but I'm curious what your opinion is. How AI has it infiltrated the drone industry? Are we seeing it in the drone industry? How do you see how it will impact and change the drone industry?
Freaking Skynet, we're all going to die.
Terminator's coming.
AI is, right? Well, first of all, it's interesting because a lot of these drones had AI built into them before anybody even talked about it.
AI's been around since the 70s. They started working on AI, but it's just gotten really advanced.
Yes. The idea is a lot of these drones have already had visual recognition systems built into them. They know the difference between a man and a car. They have sensors in them so they won't run into objects. They have the ability to automatically adjust their altitudes, return to home. Those are all AI programs individually. And I think DJI was some of the first ones to put these sensors on. Some of the sensors that are in electric cars, like Teslas and all the rest of them, they're using sensors that were developed by DJI's technology part. But now AI has sort of become sanctioned or sentient or whatever, where it's become its own thing now, where it's helping to write its own programs and flight patterns. So without a doubt, when it comes to like this drone light show we're doing, it's all computer controlled. So you have a programmer, it runs a program, it can adjust as needed to wind and any kind of environment. And so if you have a software program that's adjusting to real-time environment, that's AI program. So it's going to be there. I'm not going to lie, as an editor, somebody who's really familiar with Premiere Pro and After Effects and animation, I've been messing around with it forever. I'm using AI to cheat some of my animations so I don't have to spend 5 hours on something that AI will help me do in 5 minutes. But I'm using it to help me. I'm not using it to replace me for now.
The creative side.
Yeah.
How is AI going to be creative? That's a big argument out there in Hollywood. You have to tell it what to do.
Yes.
You have to get out what's in your brain onto whatever platform that you're doing. So it is a tool. Do you see it as a positive for the drone industry?
I think so. When it comes to, maybe repetitive skills, it's kind of like, these commercial airlines. If it's being flown robotically, would I be comfortable? Maybe not as much if there's a guy sitting in the seat, at least when things go wrong, to take over. But I think right now it's a positive. Because it's certainly, at least in my case, I know it can't replace me now. It can't replace some of the people that are doing the more finite inspections. But if you're doing mapping, is already almost automated, drone mapping. Well, I guess it is automated, but if there's an AI program that can adjust on the fly and compensate and think about what it's doing, yes, and you're correct. Currently, using AI is like knowing how to program a computer. If you do not know what to put in that what do you want to do box and spell it out, like you're talking to one of the robots in Star Trek, one of those where if you say the wrong thing, it vaporizes you because you say the wrong thing. Because I've been messing around with it a lot and trying to create certain graphics or images, and oh my gosh, if you don't spell it out right, the things that you get are like a nightmare. Really,
it's got to come out of the creative mind.
I think in the short term, there's an advantage. I'm a tech guy anyway, so I'm always for the technology. As long as it's not spying on us, if we don't have microchips inside of us that are telling us what to do, I guess we're okay.
Okay,
I guess.
Well, listen, Skip, thank you.
It's a pleasure, man. This is the most fun I've had in an interview. You need to hook up with NBC. I should.
Let's do it.
I have a brilliant idea. That page they're building for me, we should put your podcast on that page.
Let's do it.
I think we should. I have a big meeting with them next Tuesday. And I'll tell them all about the stuff you're doing for the drone industry.
I love it. Thank you, Skip. And your time, you've given us an hour and a half of your time, and you're extremely busy.
That means from here to but the traffic's going to be so much worse now. If you get out of El Cajon, if you get out where Grossmont is, like 11:30, you're in that window of there's no traffic. But the minute you get to where we're at right now, 1 o'clock, but that's okay, because maybe I'll just go over the mountain, stop off at Julian and get a pie.
There you go.
That
sounds like a fantastic. All right. One more time.
Yep.
psdronefest.com. It's coming across the screen. It's in the notes. There'll be tags. Be there. It's going to be a blast.
You've been listening to Real People, Real Life. Our passion is to have real conversations with real people who've made it. Real people who've made it, who did it on their own terms. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, catch us on Twitter or X at RPRL Podcast and on YouTube at Real People, Real Life Podcast.